ISL Vigorousov.
So you'd like to hear about how I got into this mess? How a regular guy ended up half a world away, unconscious in the backseat of a car belonging to a guy he thought he could trust, but turned out to be his worst enemy? Well, I'll tell you.
Hello, and welcome to the designer commentary for Ben Jordan Case 8, Relics of the Past. I am the game's designer, Francisco Gonzalez, also known as Grundislav, and I want to first of all thank you for downloading and playing this game. It's been a long time in development for various reasons, and it's finally finished, and it's good to finally have it finished. And yeah, I'm glad that you're playing it and that the series has now come to a close. First of all, before you listen to the commentary, I would suggest that you finish playing this game. It's not a good idea to listen to this without having finished the game because obviously as it's the last case in the series, there's going to be some major spoilers that are going to be discussed. So you've been warned. I would say, go back and play the game before you listen to this commentary. So, if at any time you want to turn off the commentary, you can turn it off the way you turned it on in the settings screen, or you can press Control-T to toggle it on and off. And also, if during any point of the commentary you want to just shut me up, press any key on your keyboard, and you can shut me up. So, without further ado, let's get things rolling. So one of the things that will probably stand out to you if you've played the other games in the series compared to this one is the change in art style. The backgrounds have been done in a completely new way, as well as the character portraits have been improved upon. Every Ben Jordan game I've kind of wanted to experiment with the art style. And in Case 7, from Case 1 to Case 6, I was using the mouse to draw the backgrounds. And in Case 7, I got a tablet halfway through, and so I was using a tablet to draw the backgrounds. But for Case 8, I thought I would do something a little different, and that was sketching out the backgrounds on paper, scanning them in, and resizing them and coloring them in on the computer. So they're colored on the PC, but they are drawn on paper. And at first, I thought it was pretty cool, and it was a good thing to do, but it just took so much time and was so tedious, and really the results weren't the best. I mean, there's some nice backgrounds that I'm happy with. Some backgrounds I had to redo several times. Others, they're okay, but I'm not. They could be better. But just for the amount of time that it took, I don't think that it's something that I would be doing again. Also, another thing that I practiced with, or tried to do, was kind of keep all the colors consistent. I wanted to go for a more muted color palette, since London and Paris are both in this sort of gloomy, rainy thing, blizzard, I guess, or just a storm that's over London and Paris. So all the backgrounds had kind of this bluish filter over them, I should say, and the interior backgrounds didn't, but all the exterior backgrounds had sort of a blue filter over them, which kind of made all the colors very muted. So I had to play around with how to make the colors look sort of decent. And as far as the character portraits go, I wanted to give them a little bit more shading and more detail. Some people complained in the previous games that the skin tones kind of made them look plastic, and it's true, because I was using the burn tool a lot at first when I started doing these newer portraits. But for Case 8, I just decided to go from the ground up and just use a lot more variety in skin tones and a little bit better shading, and I'm actually very pleased with how they turned out looking.
Oh, I see you're awake at last.
You traitor!
So this intro in the car with Ben and Percy, although it made it into the game fairly late in the process, has been written since about 2007, when I wrote the ending to Case 7. I believe I mentioned in the commentary in Case 7 that I wanted to have the ending just right, so I wrote it out so I could make sure that I liked the dialogue and kind of the script of what happened. And I did the same thing with the intro to Case 8 at that time, because it had to be, according to what I thought it had to be just right as well. So it's existed in written form for quite a bit, and it was interesting to finally get it out there and get it done. And it was also an interesting challenge to get the heads to lip sync correctly, because the Sierra style speech that the rest of the game uses lends itself very easily to lip sync, but I had to switch to LucasArts speech for these heads, since they're basically separate characters and they're talking as LucasArts speech. So I had to put in a different module to get that to work, but I'm glad I was able to get it to work, because I was kind of a perfectionist about making sure that the heads lip synced, because I didn't think it would look right if they just kind of moved their mouths without lip sync and the rest of the game was lip synced.
Yes, I know you must not be very pleased with me right now, but I can assure you, things are not as they seem.
You're one of them.
No, I am not one of them. At least, not anymore.
You're not?
That was many years ago. I was quite another person then. You must believe me when I tell you I no longer have anything to do with that atrocious group of individuals. I am deeply sorry for what they did to your friend, and I do apologize for the way in which I extracted you from their headquarters, but I fear I did not have much of a choice. You had already discovered my name in that book, and I didn't think you were going to come with me voluntarily.
So, where are we going?
Back to London. I have a flat where we can stay whilst we come up with the next course of action.
We're driving back to London?
Yes. You are unconscious for most of the journey. We should be arriving in about 30 minutes.
How did you even know where I was?
All in good time, Mr. Jordan. I know you must have many questions, but let me assure you that I will provide answers as soon as we get to our destination. For now, you must relax. You need all the rest you can get, especially considering what you're going to be up against.
Professor?
Yes, Mr. Jordan?
I think you owe me some explanations.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Jordan, I do. Ask what you must. I will try to answer as best I can.
This is the point where I like to call Percival Quentin Jones info Q dump. I don't know how good an idea it was to have the very first conversation you have in this game with him be so info dumpy. But at the same time, I figured I could get away with it because really he does have a lot of explaining to do, and it's the last game, and he has a lot of information to give you. So the first you know who he is. It's not like, you know, he's some new character that you're meeting for the first time, and having him tell you the stuff that you basically need to know it kind of gets the game off to kind of a slow start, but when you do finally get started, you know more or less what's going on, and so that's important. One thing that I learned though was that I write way too much dialogue. I mean, when I printed out the script for this, because Chris Jones, who plays Percival Quentin Jones, in the previous games, he has the lines that he's done. He hasn't had as many lines to do, so he's done it remotely, and he's recorded the lines and sent them to me. But this time around, I wanted to make sure, since he had such a large expanded role in both Ben and Arthur's stories, that his lines were done, that I was there and I could listen to when he did his lines. Although, for the record, he basically is very easy to write for because I can hear his voice in my head and I know exactly how he's going to deliver the lines. And basically every line you hear of his is his first take because I thought he nailed it every time. But anyways, I wanted to be there when I did it, when he did it. So I actually took my microphone along with me to Mittens, which is the yearly gathering of AGS folks, and last year in 2011 was in Ireland. So I took my microphone along to Ireland, and I spent about an hour or two, or yeah, about 2 hours with him, recording his lines in one day. And the script was about 10 pages for the Ben story and about 3 pages for the Arthur story. So it was a lot of stuff to get through. But it's also kind of cool because it makes me sound a lot more important and more professional to say, yes, we had Ireland recording sessions with the talent, and you know, we have an international cast, and we had to record in Ireland.
What made you join the Knights of St. Anthony?
As I said, it was a long time ago. When I joined, they were committed to a noble cause, not the twisted shadow of their former selves you know today.
What cause was that?
They sought to transcend religion, to bring harmony by establishing a common belief system. However, once I learned about Cardinal Genovese's true intentions, and the great task, I realised the error of my ways. That is when my association with the Knights of St. Anthony ended.
Exactly what is the Great Task?
Cardinal Genovese believes that by gathering relics from different religions, it will somehow empower him. He seeks to control and unify all religions, emerging as their single leader. The problem is, he will stop at nothing to reach that end, as you have experienced.
So what happens if he succeeds?
I'm not sure. However, I do know he intends to perform some sort of ritual on New Year's Eve once he gathers all the relics.
But I destroyed the exorcism amulet.
Yes, but Genovese is not the type of man who puts all his eggs in one basket. He had planned to take the exorcism amulet last because it was the closest to him. However, he designated one relic as an emergency backup in case any of the others were damaged or destroyed. That means he is on his way to the location of the final relic, the same location he will perform the ritual.
Do you know where that location is?
Unfortunately, I do not. He didn't tell anyone where it was, not even Bianchi.
So basically you're saying we've got 2 days to both find and stop him?
I'm afraid so.
Good thing I work well under pressure. Tell me about Cardinal Genovese.
When I first met him, he was a very young, idealistic priest. I'm not sure what happened to turn him into the cold, bitter man he is today. Perhaps you should do some research on him. It is best to know your enemy, as they say.
How am I supposed to find anything out about him?
I know for a fact he was educated here in London. You may be able to find some records on him somewhere.
Any idea where?
Well, the British Library is an invaluable source for old periodicals. I would suggest going to the British Museum reading room. You can access their database of articles from there.
If it's my only lead, I guess it's worth a shot. Just who are you exactly?
What do you mean?
Let's face it, you haven't exactly been honest with me. All I know about you is that you may or may not be a criminology professor at Oxford, and that you pretty much showed up out of nowhere and have been shadowing me. So what gives?
Very well, I see your point. It seems a reintroduction is in order. I am Percival Quentin Jones, born and raised here in London, educated at Oxford. You may call me Percy if you wish. I received my criminology degree at Oxford after taking time off to travel the world. Later, I met Cardinal Genovese and joined the Knights of St. Anthony.
Are you really a professor?
No, I'm afraid that was merely a cover story.
Why have you been helping me out all this time?
I have been charged with protecting you.
Charged with protecting me? From what?
I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan. We simply cannot talk about this right now. Rest assured, I will tell you everything before this is all over. You have enough to deal with right now. I don't want to complicate things further.
Okay, fine. But don't think you're off the hook just yet. Do you know anything about all the relics Cardinal Genovese took?
Yes, he started tracking them down many years ago. It was only recently that he began taking them and causing all the paranormal disturbances you've been investigating.
I'm not sure I understand all of this.
I'll do my best to explain. An object on its own cannot have power. A piece of the true cross has no more power than a tea kettle. However, what gives it power is belief. If the belief in this object is strong enough, then it will gain power.
So you're saying if enough people believe the kettle has power, it'll gain some kind of magic properties?
The kettle won't levitate or cast spells, but it will gain a sort of mystical energy from the belief, yes. People do not seem to realize what a great force belief is. Now, if an object with mystical energy is removed, it causes a disruption in the balance of energy around it. If there is another source of mystical energy nearby, the imbalance causes a reaction. In this case, a physical manifestation.
So the skunk ape, the lost galleon, the sea people...
Precisely. All your cases have related to local myths and legends. When relics were taken from these areas, these things people believed in manifested themselves.
But what about Smailholm and Japan?
Smailholm was a different story, one I will tell you soon. As for Japan, Bianchi took the tooth of the Buddha, which caused an Oni, or Japanese demon, to manifest. This Oni visited Yamamoto and told him of the evil means to acquire great riches.
I see. Do you know what happened to Alice?
I am afraid not. As far as I'm aware, she was not and has not been captured by the Knights of St. Anthony. Unfortunately, I don't know any more than that.
Do you think I could borrow that car you brought me here in?
I'm afraid that car is not mine to lend.
You mean, you stole it?
From one of the Knights of St. Anthony, yes. Driving around in it would surely make you easier to spot. Therefore, I would advise against it.
Fair enough. No more questions for now.
As you wish.
So you just walked out of Percy's flat, and hopefully you noticed that there was a nice little crossfade in the music. That was Peter Gresser, who did the music in Case 7. He did part of the music in Case 6. And he really, I think, outdid himself with the music for Case 8. I think the music in Case 8 is probably my favorite of the Ben Jordan soundtracks right now. I was pretty fond of Case 7, but I think Case 8 has just blown Case 7 out of the water. I mean, Pete did an amazing, amazing job. There are just every track in this game I love. It's just it ranges from from exciting to just plain mellow to beautiful to everything, and it's great. But I mean, he can tell you more if you have the guest commentary on. He'll chime in and let you know about the music. But I think he did a phenomenal job. The clock in this room has an interesting story behind it. It was the main reason that I was using AGS 2.72 for so long and didn't want to upgrade to 3.1, because 3.1, AGS 3.1 no longer supports the raw draw commands. It's renamed. I mean, it supports it, but it's renamed it, and there's a whole new set of codes that you have to put in. And I made this very elaborate and very messy code to make sure that the clock in this room follows your system time in 5-minute increments, basically. And it was very messy code, and it would not import into 3.1 when I tried to do it. So I figured, you know what, rather than have to figure this out and waste more time, I'm just going to keep it on at 2.72. But when I sent out some beta tests, or some beta builds, years ago, apparently 2.72 isn't compatible with newer laptops' graphics cards, and a lot of people were having trouble running it on their laptops. So I figured, you know, it would be a real shame if this game that I've been working on for 4 years now finally gets released, and lots of people aren't going to be able to play it because it's on an older version of AGS that for some reason isn't compatible. So I had heard that 3.1 was pretty much compatible with everything because it came out about the time that Windows 7 came out already. So I figured, okay, fine, I'll upgrade, and I guess I'll have to learn the code. But luckily, Steve Polton, or Callan Leafshade, swooped in and said, I can code that for you. And in about 10 minutes, he managed to make an even better working clock that's correct to the minute, better than my attempt at every 5 minutes. And he just gave it to me, I copied and pasted it, and there it was. So, there you go. You have Steve Polton to thank for being able to play this game on more modern systems, as well as the clock.
Would you mind answering some questions?
If it weren't in my job description, then yes. But as it is, I don't seem to have much of a choice, do I?
What can you tell me about the British Library?
It's over near St. Pancras.
The actual library, you mean?
Yes, this is the British Museum reading room. You did notice the large sign reading British Museum when you entered?
I did, yes.
Good. Anyway, this room used to be the British Library's reading room, but it was moved to the St. Pancras location about 7 years ago.
You have access to the British Library's records, don't you?
We do, yes. It's more convenient to access them here than at the library. Assuming, of course, you just want a brief glance through the periodicals and card catalogue.
That's exactly what I want, yes. I'd like to use one of your computers.
Very well. Please be aware that they are for research purposes only. I don't want to look over and see you playing one of those games.
Games?
Yes, one of those jumpy-jump, shooty-shoot nonsensical pieces of garbage. Today's youth wasting away in front of them instead of reading.
Yeah, okay. Don't worry. I'm just gonna do some research.
You can use that computer over there, then.
Thanks. How's the librarian biz?
I beg your pardon?
Business. How's the librarian business?
It's not really a business at all, is it?
It was a figure of speech.
I'm sure it was.
You know what? Forget I asked.
Done and done.
I'll just be on my way.
Your Grace, a Mr. Ben Jordan is here to see you.
Ben Jordan? Very well, send him in.
Hello, Father. Thank you for seeing me.
Hello, Ben. What may I do for you?
I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I could.
Certainly.
What can you tell me about the seminary?
We begin the education of all aspiring clergy members here. Our seminary is very well known, and we have had some of our graduates go on to do many things. In fact, we've had several members of the Vatican pass through here.
Pretty prestigious.
Indeed. Were you interested in joining?
Me? Oh no. I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd pass by.
Just in the neighborhood? I have never heard of anyone being just in the neighborhood and stepping by a seminary.
Well, now you have. Have you been at this seminary long?
I have.
How long exactly?
This will be my 67th year.
No kidding. You must have seen a lot of people come through here.
I have had the privilege to know many fine members of the clergy, yes.
Do you know a Cardinal Genovese?
Nicholas? Yes, I know him. He was a former head of the seminary. When he was appointed cardinal, I took his place. In fact, this used to be his office.
Really?
Yes, I've kept it more or less the same as he had it.
How well did you know him exactly?
I would say quite well. I knew him for several years before he went to Rome.
Do you still keep in touch with him?
Occasionally I correspond with him, yes.
Would you have any idea where he is now?
I'm afraid not. What is this about, young man?
You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you. Let's just say I'm looking for him.
Looking for him? If that's the case, you would be better asking at the Vatican.
Oh, I know. I already met him there. What I need to know is where he's gone.
What makes you think he's left the Vatican?
A reliable source told me he's gone to look for something somewhere.
Pardon? Looking for something?
Yeah, like I said, you wouldn't believe me. Anyway, I should probably get going soon.
Yes, well, I apologize for not being able to assist you further.
It's okay. I guess looking for information on him here was kind of a long shot. Thank you for your time.
A pleasure, my son.
I'll just be going now.
Father Flanagan?
Yes, Your Grace?
It seems we may have a problem.
What sort of problem?
That young man who was just here, he was asking about Cardinal Genovese.
Why would that be a problem?
Ordinarily it wouldn't, but he said some things which concerned me.
Such as?
He said the Cardinal had left the Vatican to go look for something.
You mean?
I had heard that Bianchi had had some trouble retrieving the amulet. Perhaps he failed. That means Genovese has gone after the final relic.
Do you think Jordan knows about the Knights?
He may. I'll see if I can get in contact with someone in Rome and see what's going on. In the meantime, have Jordan followed. We may have to keep an eye on him.
Yes, Your Grace.
Any progress?
Not really. I found a little information on Cardinal Genovese, but that's it. I still don't have any idea where he could be.
That is unfortunate.
We're pretty much at a dead end, aren't we?
I wouldn't say that.
Oh, you wouldn't? Let's look at the facts for a minute. We have no idea where Cardinal Genovese is. He's going to do some kind of weird ritual in a couple of days. He killed my friend, my girlfriend is nowhere to be found, and we have absolutely no way of finding either her or Genovese. Not to mention, you don't seem to give me a straight answer about certain things I need to know about. So unless you start telling me everything, or have some kind of trick up your sleeve, I would consider ourselves pretty much screwed, wouldn't you?
Now, Mr. Jordan,
Who's that?
I haven't a clue. No one knows where I live. Answer the door, Mr. Jordan, but be on your guard.
Yes, may I help you?
I'm terribly sorry to bother you, sir. I was wondering if you knew where I could find a Mr. Ben Jordan.
Sure is some nasty weather we're having, isn't it?
Yes, but that has nothing to do with my question, Mr. Jordan.
Wait, how did you...
I've been sent to fetch you. There are certain people who would be very interested in speaking with you.
You're with the Knights of St. Anthony, aren't you?
Very perceptive.
So, what, I'm supposed to go with you now?
That would be the preferable option, yes.
What's my other option? I'm starting to get really sick of having guns pulled on me.
None of this would be necessary if you just come with me.
Percy, get the door!
Excellent work, Mr. Jordan.
We make a pretty good team.
So one thing that was a little bit different that was fun for me to do was the concept of the action puzzle. You just solved the main action puzzle, really, which is trying to figure out how to knock out Donovan with the statue. The thing with Ben's side of the story this time was that there's really no paranormal investigating happening with him. His story is really all about finding the Cardinal and tying up all the loose ends, whereas Arthur's story is really the one about the paranormal investigating. So there really wasn't much opportunity to have Ben use inventory items and do investigations as much as in the previous games. So I had the opportunity to, like I said, do action puzzles, which was cool, which really was just more about using things around you and solving puzzles that way, and kind of having to think fast and avoid getting shot or killed or run off the road or whatever. So that was a pretty cool thing to do. There's a mini action puzzle sort of with Arthur as far as having to block the door in the Corza woman's house with your arm, but the majority of them went to Ben.
I wonder how the Knights of St. Anthony found us.
I'm not sure. What I do know, however, is that we are no longer safe here. This is not just any member of the Knights. This is Donovan, one of the Enforcers.
Enforcers?
It is their job to deal with any threat to the Knights of St. Anthony by any means necessary.
So what you're saying is, they're the assassins.
In as many words, yes. If they've sent Donovan, the other two won't be far behind.
So where do we go?
For now, I'm afraid we must part ways. I shall take care of tidying this mess. In the meantime, you try and keep a low profile while I find us some suitable accommodations.
Where am I supposed to go? I don't know anybody in London.
I recommend a pub called the Coach and Horses.
You want me to go drink?
No, you must keep a clear head. I am merely suggesting you go there, get a feel for the locale. You may be inspired.
I really wish you weren't so damn cryptic all the time. But at this point, I don't feel like arguing. Okay, I'll head over there. So, I guess I'll see you soon?
Count on it. Until later, Mr. Jordan.
Wait a minute. Where is the Coach and Horses?
Coach and Horses is an actual bar, an actual pub in London, and it is, as the game mentions, just right around the corner from number 50 Berkeley Square. I went there for the first time in 2007 after Britain's, which was a little meetup we had of AGS people in Wales, and we kind of spent some time in London. And we went by Berkeley Square because I wanted to be a dork and show everybody, hey, look, this is the house from Case 4. So we were walking around the neighborhood and we just kind of stumbled upon this place, Coach and Horses, which was a nice little pub. And what was cool about it was that it had a dumbwaiter, and it was interestingly decorated, and it was a nice little quaint place. It was quiet and an interesting little hole in the wall. So I went back there. The next time I was in London, I think was in about 2000. Actually, I think it was there in 2008. I want to say. Yeah, 2008. I went back there, and at that point, I had already started working on Case 8, and I thought, well, why don't we put this place in there? So I decided to use it as an actual location in the game, and it's pretty much as you see it here. It's some artistic license has been taken, but it's like, for example, I don't know if they actually have a room upstairs and if they have that whole big staircase in the back and all that. But there is a dumbwaiter. The bar more or less looks like that, and it's if you stand at that end of the bar and look towards the door, it more or less looks like that. And also the music that you're listening to in here is Vivaldi's Lute Concerto in D minor, which is the only quote-unquote licensed, I guess, or unlicensed piece of music in the game. And that's an homage to Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Fathers, in which that song in MIDI format was played at the Napoleon House. And I've always thought it makes good bar music, so I decided to put it in as a sort of little homage, as I am wont to do.
Hello? Is anybody up there? Hello? Is anybody in there? Hello? Is anybody in there? Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
See you later.
Take care, laddie.
This is a very atmospheric place you've got here.
You won't find a better pub in all of London.
Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
What can you tell me about this place?
Coach and Horse has been here for as long as I can remember. In fact, my dad used to come here when I was a lad.
I'm sure you're doing him proud by working here.
He'd be plenty proud if he was still alive.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Of course he didn't, but 17 pints a day will do that to you. I'd like to think he helped keep this place in business.
A touching thought. I'd like a drink, please.
You came to the right place for it. What'll it be?
Something to make me forget my problems.
Ah, I got just a thing for you. Here you are, laddie.
Hey, Seamus, pour me another one of those drinks you gave me.
One problem solver, coming right up. Here you are, laddie.
I'll take another problem solver if you don't mind.
You're really enjoying these, aren't you? Here you are, laddie.
Hey, Seamus,
Aye.
give me another one of those drinks.
Is that really a good idea? You seem a bit off your tits already.
I'm paying you, aren't I? Get it over.
Aye, can't argue with that logic. Here you are, laddie. Poor bastard. Had more problems than liquor could solve, it seems.
Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
What can you tell me about this place?
Coach and Horse has been here for as long as I can remember. In fact, me dad used to come here when I was a lad.
I'm sure you're doing him proud by working here.
I'd probably. He'd be plenty proud if he was still alive.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Of course he didn't, but 17 pints a day will do that to you. I'd like to think he helped keep this place in business.
A touching thought. Tell me about yourself.
My name's Seamus. As you can see, I'm the bartender.
Now, Seamus the bartender is based on an actual bartender from a local bar near me called the Irish Times. Many years ago, back in 2008, my friend Layabout, or Ryan Keepens is his real name, who plays Seamus, he came to visit me for a weekend, and we went to the Irish Times, and one of the bartenders there, who was one of the main bartenders, was named Simon, and he had sort of a helper bartender who we didn't know who his name was, or what his name was, but we called him Seamus because they were Irish at the time, the bartenders there. They're not now. But they were hanging out, and we were hanging out, and Simon, Simon was the type of bartender who'd come up to you and, talk to you and tell you jokes and stuff. And Seamus was kind of hanging out in the background, kind of serving the drinks and not really doing anything. And later on, to make a long story short, we ended up at a strip club, and Simon came in, and he saw us and was like, "Hey, what are you lads doing here?" Ah! So we came up with this whole backstory for our amusement, which was that Simon ran things, and Seamus was kind of his slave who kind of had to do all the work and just tend to the bar when Simon would go off to see the strippers and stuff. So our little meme sort of became, "Oh, poor Seamus." So I thought it would be funny to put poor Seamus in my game. So one day I went to Irish Times and I snuck a picture of Seamus with my phone, and so I used that as the basis for his character portrait, and then got Ryan to record in Ireland as well, the voice of Seamus, and so now Seamus is immortalized. Since then, Irish Times has kind of gone downhill. All the Irish bartenders have left. Seamus is long gone, as is Simon, and it's sort of become just your generic stupid bar that plays techno music on Saturdays. But for a time, it was a fun place to go, and it's sort of kind of been immortalized in this little bit of the game.
My job consists of serving drinks to customers, as well as lending an ear to your troubles. If you like, I can also provide entertainment in the form of jokes.
I'll keep that in mind. Hey Seamus, how about a joke?
Certainly. My good friend Simon enjoyed telling this one before he packed up and moved to America. 3 men are sitting at a bar. The first says, "Aye, this is a nice bar, but where I come from, there's a better one. At McDougal's, you can buy a drink, you buy another drink, and McDougal himself will buy you a third drink." The second then starts, "That sounds like a nice bar, but where I come from, there's a better one called Quinn's. At Quinn's, you can buy a drink, Quinn buys you a drink. You buy another drink, Quinn buys you another drink." Then the third pipes up. "You think that's good? Where I come from, there's a place called Murphy's. At Murphy's, they buy you your first drink, they buy you your second drink, they buy you your third drink, and then they take you in the back and get you laid." "Well," say the other two, "that sounds fantastic. Did that actually happen to you?" "No," replies their friend, "but it happened to my sister."
What can you tell me about that room upstairs?
Ah yes, it's not much, but we rent that room out. I'm afraid you're out of luck if you need a place to stay though. The room was empty until just this morning, when someone hired it for the week.
Rats. Who rented the room?
Funny that, I'm not sure. It's a man, that much I know. He rang us and reserved the room this morning. Even though I've been here all day, can't recall anyone showing up to take the key. But then, there are large portions of today I can't remember, so I'm not too much concerned.
How do you know anyone is up there?
Because he keeps placing food orders.
And you haven't seen him when he comes down to order food?
That's the thing. He's been using the dumbwaiter. He sends down a note with his order, but at the bottom it always says, expecting guests. Waits until arrival. So I haven't made any of his 3 orders yet.
What has your upstairs guest ordered?
Let me see. His first order was for pheasant, with a side of quiche and a juice to drink. Next, he asked pie, with roast quail and jellies for dessert. Finally, he ordered prawns, quesadilla, and jaffa cakes.
Strange.
You're telling me we don't even serve half of this stuff?
I'd like to place an order for some food.
Ah, of course. You get a main course, a side dish, and a dessert. What will you have?
I think I'll try a blood sausage. With a side of jaffa cakes. And I'll skip the dessert, thanks.
Alright, laddie. Won't be a moment. There you are.
Thanks.
So the food code puzzle is probably my favorite puzzle in this entire game, just because of how out there it is, I guess. It's not really out there, but you kind of have to use less conventional thinking methods to solve it. I was actually surprised that most of the beta testers, nobody complained about it. I was kind of expecting complaints about it. I don't know if anybody now after I release the game will complain about it, but I like to think it meets just that right level of challenge where it's not quite apparent what you have to do at the beginning, but once you realize, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And of course I had to throw in the little comment from Percy when you go up to his room where he says, oh, well, I would have been surprised if anyone who wasn't you had solved it, because obviously Ben Jordan is known for his solving of stupid puzzles.
Why, Mr. Jordan, what a pleasant surprise.
Pleasant surprise.
Only joking. I knew you would find your way up here soon enough.
Wasn't it kind of dangerous sending the key down like that? Anyone could have come up.
I would have been most impressed if anyone who was not you had managed to figure out my food code.
Thanks, I think.
At any rate, feel free to make yourself at home. My apologies for the sparse decorations, but I had very little time to set up.
I'm glad you're able to keep such high spirits during all this.
Oh, someone has to, Mr. Jordan. Otherwise, why bother carrying on?
You have no idea how often I've been asking myself that today. Percy?
Yes, Mr. Jordan?
I couldn't help but notice your decorative plate from Romania.
Ah, yes, I was hoping you would. That plate is a souvenir from a memorable trip I took there once. It was during my younger days, when I travelled through Europe.
No kidding. My grandfather did the same thing when he was young.
Yes, I know.
Hold on. Are you telling me you knew my grandfather?
Yes. Arthur and I were good friends. We travelled to Romania together.
How come he never mentioned you?
Oh, I wouldn't have expected him to. We had a bit of a falling out later on.
But Grandpa Arthur went to Romania in the 1920s. Were you even born then?
I'm not as young as I look, Mr. Jordan. If you'll have a seat, I can tell you about it.
Do we really have time for stories?
You have done all you can for now, and I feel this is something you should know.
Okay.
Now then, I met your grandfather in London in the early 1920s at this very pub. A mutual interest in travel and adventure meant that we quickly became friends. We travelled many places together, and in 1926 found ourselves in a small Romanian village. This particular adventure was significant not only for your grandfather, but for you as well.
I'm listening.
Scenic little town, isn't it?
Indeed, quite atmospheric. Did you know this is where Bram Stoker took his inspiration for Dracula? Count Vlad Tepes, the man who inspired Dracula, was supposedly born in this very town. Of course, he was better known as Vlad the Impaler.
Always a source of fascinating trivia, aren't you, Percy?
I do like to keep myself informed.
Right now, the only information I need is the location of the closest hotel. We've been traveling a long time. I'm beat.
Yes, a good night's sleep sounds wonderful.
Don't suppose you can read Romanian?
A bit, actually. But I'm sure there has to be a hotel around here somewhere. The town isn't very big.
Let's take a look around then.
Back when I was initially designing Case 8, I ran into the challenge of what it was exactly that Ben was going to be investigating. Because, as I mentioned previously, this really is a story about him tying up the loose ends and just finishing up with everything, and not really investigating the paranormal. So, at first I was kind of running through my options and seeing maybe I could throw in some sort of paranormal phenomena that he could investigate while finding the Cardinal, or something to do with the relics, or something. But I couldn't really think of anything that wouldn't seem tacked on. So, originally I had the idea, because obviously I wanted to explain the whole Zorthris story with Arthur. I thought, well, I guess I can have some flashbacks or something with Arthur, and kind of maybe have some cutscenes. But then I thought, wait a minute, this is a perfect opportunity to A, expand the game, B, put in some paranormal investigating, and C, have a second playable character. So I thought, well, let's just have Arthur be the player B, and have him go around and do some investigating. So it was it opened up the game possibilities a lot more, and I was pretty excited about it. And of course it led to the title, which was Relics of the Past, which I thought was very clever at the time. I guess I still think it's clever, but anyway. So yeah, so it was fun to be able to have Arthur as the player character, and sort of take a break from the Ben action and go into Arthur. And Arthur was fun too, because it was fun to draw the little parallels in the story, as far as Arthur basically having a lot of the same mannerisms and phrases as Ben, despite his 1920s vernacular, and being able to see Percy in both eras, and also the fun little parallel of Arthur and Percy not really believing in the paranormal, going around debunking things and having their case turn out to be the real thing, and Ben, who does believe in the paranormal and goes around proving things, have his case end up being nothing. So that was kind of a fun little parallel.
Hello, my good man. Am I correct in guessing this is the town inn?
Yes, sir. That is correct. Welcome to the Hotel Dracula. If you wish to rent a room, it will be 500 lei a night.
Sounds keen. What do you say, Perce?
Seeing as this is our only option, I think we would do well to stay here.
A room for me and one for my associate, please.
Very good. Names?
Arthur Jordan and Percy Jones.
Jordan and Jones. Excellent. Again, welcome to the Hotel Dracula. May your stay here be pleasant.
So if you are a fan of old school Sierra adventure games as I am, you may notice something familiar about the Hotel Dracula. The Hotel Dracula background that I first drew was very plain. It was just a very standard view of a room with the painting of Dracula and just a desk, and it didn't really look all that great. So I went back and I wanted to redesign it, but I thought, the most homey the most homey inn that I've ever seen in a game was probably in Quest for Glory 4: Shadows of Darkness. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to rip that off. So I looked at the background. I mirrored the background and I drew basically the same layout as that background, just because I liked it so much. And yeah, I admit it's a blatant ripoff, but I think it works and it looks nice. Also, as you may know, I also use for character portraits. I use a lot of famous celebrities and actors and stuff just to get the look right, and I sometimes trace over them. And the 3 characters that appear in this game are based off of 3 actors from the same television show. So anybody who figures out what television show these 3 actors are from, I think it's fairly easy to figure out. And guesses it, well, you get a prize of being able to be smug and figure out where I draw my inspiration from.
Mind if we speak for a bit?
No, sir. What do you need?
What can you tell me about this joint?
The Hotel Dracula has been in my family for several years. We do quite well. Of course, it helps to be the only hotel in town.
I can imagine. So, why the Dracula theme?
Our town is a popular tourist destination because it is the birthplace of Vlad Tepes. He was better known as Vlad the Impaler, and was...
The inspiration for Bram Stoker's novel?
Indeed, sir. You are already familiar with the local history?
Yes, I have my own personal guide, it would seem.
Only trying to help, Arthur. Knowledge is the best defense, after all.
Having you around is like wearing a full suit of armor, then. You enjoy being an innkeeper?
Yes, sir. It is a very rewarding job. I get to meet people from all over the world and hear their stories.
I guess that explains why your English is so good.
That is correct. Many English-speaking travelers come through here.
You know, I couldn't help but notice the dried brambles hanging on all the doors in town. Is that some kind of Romanian tradition?
No, sir. That is...
Yes?
It is for protection.
Protection? Against what?
It is not good to speak of it, sir.
Come now, what can be so horrible that you can't speak of it?
The headless vampire.
Did you say headless vampire?
Yes, it is an unfortunate plague upon our town.
Tell me more.
I do not know many details. You would do better asking the other townspeople, although I am not sure they would be willing to discuss it. This is a very delicate matter, and to talk about it with a foreigner...
I'll worry about the other folks, just tell me what you know.
Very well. The headless vampire is, as the name implies, a vampire without a head. Actually, it is only the head which flies around and bites victims.
How does that work, exactly?
I am not sure. I myself have never encountered it, you see. But Dragomir, the farmer over there with the black hat, he claims his sister was bitten by the vampire.
I see. Thanks for the information.
You are welcome. But please, sir, do not go looking for the vampire. Several adventurers have come here before you and tried finding out more. None have returned to tell the tale. Seeking the vampire leads only to misery and death.
I appreciate your concern, but my friend and I are used to this sort of thing.
You are?
Ever hear of the London werewolf or the Belfast banshee?
I'm afraid not.
That's because Percy and I investigated and disproved both. I'm sure we can take care of your vampire problem.
I love the idea of Arthur and Percy being supernatural investigators going around Europe and disproving legends like the London werewolf and the Belfast banshee. It seems funny to me. And don't take that, I'm afraid to say that that's not any sort of indication of any spin-off series or anything like that, because obviously what would be the point? I mean, you know that they're going around debunking everything, so everything's going to be fake. But just the idea of them going around and kind of adventuring and stuff amuses me.
If that is the case, I wish you luck. Perhaps our town will finally be rid of this nuisance once and for all.
We'll try our best. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Pardon me, but could we talk a moment?
Of course, young man. What do you need?
What can you tell me about the town?
We have a rich history, although most of it is very bloody. Vlad the Impaler was born here. He gained quite an infamous reputation, as I'm sure you are aware.
That's what I hear.
The best way to experience Sigisora is to walk the streets and take in the environment. Just be careful where you go and when you go there.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Florian Gogoasa, and I am the town butcher. My shop is located on the west end of town, if you decide you would like to buy some meat. I lead a simple life. During the day I work at my shop, and at night I come here to drink and converse with my friends and visitors to the town.
Thanks for the chat.
Think nothing of it.
Say there, could we have a chat?
I don't see why not.
What do you know about this town?
I have lived here my entire life. Many people like to come here to learn of Dracula. We see many people from many places. I like this.
Tell me about yourself.
Wah, I am Dragomir, a simple farmer. There is really not very much interesting about me.
I hear tell you know something about this headless vampire.
Yes, I do. However, I do not like to speak of it.
Come now, I understand it's a sore subject, but surely you can tell me something.
I am afraid not. Do not take this as an insult, but I do not like talking about these things with outsiders.
But my associate and I are well versed in local legends. We've even managed to deal with a few in different parts of Europe. Isn't there any way I can gain your trust?
There may be. If what you claim is true, there is something you can do for me.
I'm listening.
North of the town square, near the cemetery, is the Sigiswara clock tower. My house is located next to it. Every night when I walk home, I hear strange noises coming from the top of the clock tower. I hear these terrible noises in the night, and they do not let me sleep. I think there is the spirit of a lost child up there, because the wailing is awful. Also, the clock has stopped working ever since this spirit appeared. Nobody has dared to go up and fix it, because they are too frightened. You must go up to the tower and help this spirit. If you do this, you will have no trouble with the vampire, and I will tell you all you want to know.
Sounds easy enough. I'll have your so-called spirit taken care of before you finish your next beer. I appreciate your time.
You are most welcome.
Think you can handle a little climb purse?
We'll find out when we reach the top.
That wasn't so bad.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I don't see any child spirits up here. Do you?
No, but I do hear that noise the farmer mentioned. Quite unsettling it is, too.
There has to be a reasonable explanation for it.
Perhaps some further investigation is required.
Hey, Burst, let's have a bull session.
Yes, Arthur?
How are you holding up, old boy?
I think I may be on the verge of cardiac arrest. Climbing stairs is not my forte.
This whole headless vampire thing sounds pretty spooky.
I'm sure it will turn out to be some sort of hoax. Perhaps some local townsperson playing tricks.
If that's the case, they've certainly done a good job of pulling one over on everyone around here. Think you can give me a hand here?
Certainly. What do you need?
This beam is stuck in the machinery, and I need your help to pull it out.
Very well. On 3. 1.
2. Attaboy. Guess that takes care of the spirit problem.
Indeed. The farmer will be glad to hear about this, I'm sure.
Say there, could we have a chat?
I don't see why not.
I have good news for you, Dragomir. It turns out the clock tower isn't haunted after all.
It isn't?
Nope. There was a beam that had come loose and caught itself in one of the gears. That's what was causing the clock to stop working, as well as the noises.
Ah, yes, that does make sense. Now I feel foolish. Perhaps I should not be so eager to blame problems on the supernatural.
Not all of them, anyway. This other one sounds like the real McCoy. Now could you please tell me what you know about the headless vampire?
Yes, my sister was bitten by the vampire.
What happened?
She was walking alone at night in the cemetery. I told her not to do this. She knows it is dangerous. But she did not listen, and she was attacked by vampire.
Is she alright?
Yes, she got lucky. The bite was not deep. She was able to escape, but told me what she had seen. It was unmistakably the headless vampire.
What else do you know about it?
Not much, I am afraid. According to the legend, the vampire is a woman who used to live in this town. You should ask my friend Florian here. He knows much about the legend of the vampire.
You mentioned your sister's vampire bite wasn't very deep. Does that make any sort of difference?
Yes. If vampire bites you, it does not mean you become a vampire. The vampire must bite you and drink your blood in order for this to happen. If vampire bites you but does not drink your blood, you become weak for a few days, but nothing else happens. This is why it is important to try and escape vampires as soon as possible.
Interesting information. I'll keep it in mind. I appreciate your time.
You are most welcome.
Pardon me, but could we talk a moment?
Of course, young man. What do you need?
Your friend Dragomir says you know something about the headless vampire.
Correct, I do. The headless vampire is not what you might think. Instead of a body with no head, it is the head of a vampire which floats in the air seeking victims. From the neck hangs its entrails, like a bunch of tentacles. The vampire will often trap its victims using the entrails as a restraint, then go in for the bite.
Jeepers creepers! That sounds like something I wouldn't want to meet.
Yes, it is an unpleasant sight to behold. This is why all the doors have dried brambles on them. The vampire's entrails are sensitive, and it fears getting them caught on the sharp points of the brambles. Hanging them on doors keeps the vampire away from our homes. Also, it is said that to kill the vampire, one must find its headless body and place sharp objects in the neck wound. This way, when the head reattaches, the entrails will be cut, and the vampire will die.
That's some useful information to have. Do you know anything about the vampire's history?
A bit. The legend has existed for quite some time.
Do tell.
According to the story, the vampire was originally a woman. She was unfaithful to her husband, and when he found out, it infuriated him. As punishment, he stuffed her into a barrel and sealed her in.
Sounds like a loving fellow.
The young lady tried screaming for help, but no one came. Desperate, she shifted around in the barrel until her legs were behind her head, pointing up. She kicked the top of the barrel as hard as she could, trying to open it and free herself. She succeeded, but unfortunately, she kicked with such force that she caused her head to go flying off as well.
Oh my.
With her head went her insides, and since she committed the sin of adultery, she was doomed to roam the earth as an undead.
That's quite a story. Any idea who the woman was?
No, but I do know she lived in this town. You might consider searching the town records to see if you can get any information about her, if you desire it.
Thanks. I just might do that. Thanks for the chat.
Think nothing of it.
Good evening, sir. Pardon the intrusion, but my associate and I are new in town and just having a look around.
I see. This town hall. I am record keeper. English is not so good, but if you need help, I give.
Thank you. We may just take you up on that offer. Excuse me, fella. I was hoping you could answer a few questions for me.
Yes, I do my best.
What can you tell me about the town?
Small town. Not much happen here. We are simple people. We live a simple life. Visitors come to see Castle Dracula, but not much else.
You don't say. Castle Dracula.
Yes, Castle of Vlad Tepes. Inspiration for Dracula. Our town is famous for it.
Tell me about yourself, friend.
I am town record keeper. My job is to keep record of all births, deaths and marriages in town. You need to find records of people in Sigisora? You come to see me. I have history of town going back to last century.
A pretty impressive collection, I must say. What can you tell me about this headless vampire everyone seems to be all in a lather about?
It is bad luck to speak of these things. Local town woman died many years ago. Came back as a vampire. If you are out at night, you can become her next victim. This is why everyone stays indoors.
Any idea who she could be?
No, I do not have enough information. If you can find her name, I can find a record for you.
Great, I'll keep that in mind. I'd like to look up someone in your town records if that's alright.
Yes, of course. What is name of person you are looking for?
I'm curious to see if you have any records from around 1903 for someone with the initials DF.
Let me see. No, I do not have anything from that date. However, there is a Dragomir Fidatov who was born in 1882.
I see. Thanks for the information. Could you see if you have a record for Flavia and Florian from 1917?
One moment. Ah, yes. Florian Gogoasa married Flavia Ionescu on June 12, 1917.
Interesting. Thanks for the help. I'm wondering if you can find a record for someone with the initials RK or ST from 1850.
I will see. One moment. There are no marriages between anyone with those initials in that year. However, there is a death.
You don't say.
Yes, no name, but the initials are here. RK died on January 19th, 1850.
So who is RK?
I do not know. I will look through records and see if I find anyone with those initials. However, it could take time. If you find name before, please tell me and I try to help.
Okay, I'll try my best. Radu Korza. RK.
What was that, Arthur?
I think we may have found the mysterious RK. Only problem is, the date of death on this gravestone doesn't match the one the record keeper told us.
Perhaps we should go back and inquire about it.
Excuse me, fella. I was hoping you could answer a few questions for me.
Yes, I do my best.
I'd like to look up someone in your town records if that's alright.
Yes, of course. What is name of person you are looking for?
Could you tell me about Radu Korza? I think he may be RK, but the date of death on his gravestone is in 1850.
Let me see. Radu Korza. No, he died in 1862. However, he had a daughter, Ruxandra, born 1812, died...
Yes?
Strange. I do not have record of her death.
But she surely must have been the RK who died in 1850.
It is possible.
Strange. No official record of her death, only her initials. Is there any way to find out for sure?
Maybe. Korza family house is at the top of the hill near the hotel. There is an old Korza woman who still lives there. Maybe you ask her.
Thanks. I'll just go do that. Hello there, Miss Korza.
Yes?
My name is Arthur Jordan. This is my associate, Percival Q. Jones.
Pleased to meet you, Mom.
We were wondering if we might be able to come in and ask you a few questions about your family.
My family? How do you know my family?
We've been doing a little research into the headless vampire and...
Oh wait! You get away from here!
I'm sorry if I upset you, but...
Go away! Leave me alone!
Now hold on just a minute. It's very important that we speak with you.
I have nothing to say to you.
Somehow I doubt that very much. Look, my friend and I aren't just going to give up. So, until you agree to talk with us, we're just going to keep bothering you.
Fine. Enough of this foolishness. You may come inside, but please, I am an old woman. I do not have time or energy for these things.
Thanks. We just want to ask you a few questions, that's all. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yes?
Do you live here all by yourself?
Yes, and I am not interested in dealing with the town. So, I stay here by myself. They do not bother me, and I do not bother them.
Do you know Ruxandra Korza?
I knew her, yes. She was my sister.
Your sister? Were you close?
We had a good relationship, yes. Until she began seeing that man. Things changed. She was not the same. And then her bastard husband killed her.
My God, that's awful.
Yes, it brought shame to our family.
Who was the man?
His name was Soren, I believe. Soren Trellis.
What can you tell me about this Soren Trellis?
He was a very strange man, always dressed in black. He had pale skin, very low voice. I saw him very little. My sister was happily married, but then Soren came into town. She would go off for hours. Later I discovered it was to see him. I tried to keep it from her husband, but he saw their initials carved in a tree in town. He was very jealous, and he sealed her in a barrel as punishment. But he left her inside too long and she suffocated, and died.
My sympathies, Miss Corza. This may be a sensitive topic, but do you know anything about the Headless Vampire?
Oh, it is a terrible story the townspeople began telling after Roxandra died. They say she kicked her head off and became a floating head that drinks blood. But this is absurd. My sister died in the barrel because she could not breathe.
What happened to the body?
Her husband buried it, barrel and all. I do not know where. Please do not ask me anything else. This brings back too many bad memories.
I apologize, miss. I don't have any more questions about your sister. Thank you very much for your time, Miss Corza.
You are welcome.
It looks like this whole headless vampire thing might just be a big misunderstanding.
It would seem the townspeople merely came up with a supernatural story to add to an already scandalous tale of adultery.
Only one thing stands out to me. Dragomir seemed like he was on the up and up. I don't know about his sister, though. She said she'd been attacked in the cemetery.
Indeed she did.
Maybe we should take a look around there and see if there's a reasonable explanation for why she might have been attacked. Or fed a malign.
That sounds like a reasonable course of action.
This entire situation is pretty curious, wouldn't you say, Perce?
Indeed. It seems a rather cut and dry case of murder. However, I fail to see where the supernatural angle comes into play.
Percy, look out!
So the big baddie in Arthur's story is the Headless Vampire. Now you may think, well, this is kind of a strange story. Where'd you get this from? It actually exists. It's apparently a Malaysian legend, which I believe it's called the Penanggalang or something like that, and it's the head of a maiden or woman who floats around, her entrails hanging out, and she bites people, and she is sensitive to brambles. Now, I had to look this up because I needed more details on it, but I remembered, and I can't remember for the life of me where I heard it, but I remember hearing about this when I was a little kid in about elementary school or so. I remember hearing the story about that there was this floating vampire head with the entrails and that the brambles were protection against it. And I seem to recall it being an Eastern European thing. I mean, I may have been misremembering. It may have been Malaysian all along, but I could have sworn that it was sort of an Eastern European thing. In any case, I transplanted the legend and I stuck it in Romania, in Transylvania. So, yeah, actually exists. Look it up. Penanggalang. It's got 2 A's, I think, in there somewhere.
My goodness, that was close. I owe you one, Arthur.
Not a problem. So the headless vampire isn't just a local superstition after all.
Quite. That Dragomir chap's sister really was lucky to escape alive.
So now that we know the thing is real, we just have to figure out how to stop it.
Indeed. Any ideas?
For now, I think our best lead is to find out more about this Soren Trellis character.
So the vampire was real after all?
Indeed.
And Grandpa Arthur saved you from it?
That he did.
Wow, that was one hell of a story.
Oh, it is by no means over. But I think now would be a good time for you to get back to trying to figure out where the Cardinal has gone.
So you're not going to finish the story because you think something has changed within the past hour?
Yes, and time is of the essence.
I really wish you'd just tell me what was going on.
All in due time. I shall finish my story and tell you everything else once we've located Genovese.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. Percy?
Yes, Mr. Jordan?
No more questions for now.
As you wish.
Hey, can I bother you with some questions for a second?
Sure, why not? I mean, that's why people go to bars, right? To be accosted by random strangers? I know it's why I do.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too, Gingy.
Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
Who's that guy at the bar?
What? The snarky American with the whiny voice? I have no idea. He wandered in here about an hour ago. As long as he pays for his drinks, I won't be tossing him out. Of course, that pink sweater of his is reason enough.
It's salmon, damn it! Salmon!
Sure. Whatever you say.
See you later.
Take care, laddie.
Hey, can I bother you with some questions for a second?
Sure, why not? I mean, that's why people go to bars, right? To be accosted by random strangers? I know it's why I do.
So, tell me about yourself.
Whoa. Hold it right there, buddy. This ain't that kind of bar. I mean, I realize the sweater might be sending some mixed signals, but...
It was just a question.
Right, yeah, of course, sure.
Now, before you say anything, no, that is not Dave Gilbert. That is Anthony Carboni. The closest thing to a celebrity voice actor this game has. Anthony was the host of a show called Bite Jacker back in around 2000, from about 2008 to 2010 or so. Then he moved over to Revision 3, which is rev3.com, and now he hosts several things actually, including a game show, well, a show about games, not a game show. Called New Challenger, where he talks about video games. Sometimes he co-hosts the Destructoid show, and he hangs around there. But in 2008, myself and Dave Gilbert and Aaron Robinson were in New York, and we appeared on his Bite Jacker show, and we talked about adventure games and stuff. And on that show, I revealed the exclusive title of Ben Jordan 8, and we talked very briefly about adventure games off camera and stuff, and he was telling me about his game. He had seen Case 1 and whatever. So after that trip, I emailed him and I was like, hey, would you consider doing a voice for Case 8? There's a character that I think I could put you in the game as, which I think would be a lot of fun. So he was really excited about doing it, and he was like, yeah, great. So I sent him the lines, and he was like, make me as much of a jerk as you can. So I was like, okay, fine. So he recorded the lines about 4 years ago now, I guess. And about 2000, well, that was in about November of 2009. I think he got me the lines in early 2009. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry that it took so long, because it took a couple of weeks, I think. He was like, I'm so sorry it took so long, and I hope I haven't delayed the game. And I was like, you don't have to worry about delaying the game, trust me. And he certainly does. So he was very gracious, and he provided the voice, and that leads me to my next point, which is obsolescence of the voice actor, because I threw in a few jokes about him climbing on roofs for Bitejacker in Brooklyn, and about the best job ever, which was a show that he did at the time, and stuff like that. And it's just really very dated now, because that's not what he's doing anymore. So, in addition to Ben Jordan 8 being a period piece in the sense that it takes place in late 2004, it's now an even more it's an anachronistic period piece, because there was no Bitejacker in 2004, and also there is no Bitejacker now, so it's kind of like this moment that's lost in time that's preserved in Case 8. But yeah, and well, I saw Anthony at GDC very briefly this past year, and he was like, well, so when's your game coming out? So finally my game is out, and here it is. So there you go.
There's totally nothing wrong with that, by the way. You live your life the way you want to.
Wait, what?
Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm here in London with my buddy John. We're filming a show for the internet. It's like those travel shows where the guy eats raw fish heads, you know?
Sure, I think I do.
Yeah, except in our show, John goes out and looks for weird locations, and I come drink at pubs. It's the best job ever. Huh, I had to remember that. Might make a good title.
What exactly do you mean by weird locations?
You know, places off the beaten path, kind of places people wouldn't normally go. You know, like your house. Oh, burn! 1 point to Carboni!
Yeah, that's very funny.
Yeah, I know. Kind of why I said it.
Seriously though, what kind of places have you found here?
Oh, tons. We just came from this psychic shop run by this real crazy old lady. Man, she was a trip.
Tell me more about this psychic shop.
I forget the name of the lady who owned it, but she had this big guy guarding the door. She had this pink turban and a black robe, and the place was all made up like in the movies.
Pink turban, black robe, and a flair for the dramatic? That's gotta be Madame Tilly Rosenquist.
Yeah, that's her. Wait, did you just say flair for the dramatic?
Yeah?
Man, you're like a walking cliche, aren't you? Who talks like that?
Look, can you just tell me where this shop is?
Ah, not so fast there, Red. Quid pro quo.
What?
It's Latin. It means...
I know what it means. What do you want?
Well, why should I give away my information on weird places for free? Find me another one I can visit, and I'll tell you the location of this one.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, and have you got time to wander around London looking for her shop?
Fine, I'll see what I can find you.
Good man. Saving John some work.
What do you think of London?
Well, it's not Brooklyn, I'll tell you that. I mean, for one thing, I haven't seen a single roof I can climb, let alone any I'd want to.
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing. You wouldn't understand anyway.
What's that you're reading?
It's one of the local papers. Look at this, there's boobs on page 3.
So I see.
Man, we don't get stuff like this back home.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too, Gingy.
Sir? Sir? Over here, sir!
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir. Please, please come over here. I must speak with you.
I had a lot of fun with this woman. She was based on an actual experience I had in London one time, walking across Westminster Bridge. I was approached by a lady, I think it was a lady, who, very similar to this one, came up to me and was like, "Please, sir, think of the children!" And she pinned this yellow wilted flower on the lapel of my coat and was like, "Please, please, the children!" And I was like, I don't have any money. Leave me alone. So I very quickly unpinned the flower and gave it back to her, and she chased me around going, "Oh, the children, the children!" So I don't know exactly what it was she wanted. I guess she wanted me to think of the children. But yeah, so I took that experience and I sort of put it into this game. The lady question marks character portrait is based on poor Susan Boyle, the Britain's Got Talent opera singer lady. but a bit more mannish than she actually is.
What seems to be the problem?
The problem, sir, is that millions of children in this city go hungry each night. The problem is that they sleep in cardboard boxes in alleys.
Ah, great. What have I gotten myself into?
And the problem, sir, is people like you who don't care.
Look, don't get me wrong. I care about the plight of the homeless children as much as the next guy. But right now, I've got plenty of my own problems to deal with.
Oh, I understand, sir. After all, this is London. Everyone is so busy. Busy here, busy there, busy everywhere. Everyone caught up in their own problems, not thinking of the children.
Give me a break, lady. You are a lady, right?
Please, sir, think of the children. It's all we ask.
Well, what am I supposed to do then?
Take this informative magazine. It will educate you on the situations.
Thanks, I think.
Not so fast, sir.
What?
For taking a copy of the magazine, we kindly ask for a small donation.
Alright, I should have guessed. How much?
A paltry £5, sir.
£5? For a shoddy magazine that feels like it was printed on toilet paper?
Please, sir, think of the children.
Yeah, I know. Okay, if it'll get you to leave me alone, here.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now please, don't talk to me anymore. Hello? Is anybody up there? Here, will this help? It's a travel brochure for places in London.
Let me see. Yeah, this has got some good stuff, although it does sort of threaten to render our show obsolete. Yeah, well, you kept your end of the deal, so here. This is the business card for that psychic shop you asked about.
Thanks.
No problem. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to continue my self-destructive binge drinking.
Have fun. Otto Schneider? Is that you?
Why, yes, Herr Jordan, it is. Nice to see you again.
When I was designing the game, I thought a lot about recurring characters, and since it was the final game in the series, I wanted to bring some people back. I didn't want to pull a Quest for Glory 5, which brought back pretty much every single character in that series. Some done well, some just kind of shoehorned in. But I thought it would be appropriate to bring back Otto and Madame Tilly, because people seem to like them from Case 4. And very brief mention is made of Madame Tilly, kind of as throwaway gags in Case 6 and Case 7. So I thought it would be fun to see them again. And it was also fun to kind of expand their roles and give them a bit more to do. Madame Tilly, it was fun to have her just have the crazy psychic shop. And I have to give an aside, the music in Madame Tilly's shop I love. And just the fact that Pete was like, you know, I can do it to make it sound like it's coming from a speaker. I just thought that's even better because it makes it sound like Madame Tilly is actually playing this cheesy, now that's what I call Transcendental Meditation Volume 37 track in her shop. And Otto was fun to have back because, you know, he's the strong silent type, except he's a bit more actiony in this game. And the idea of having them together in a relationship was just too disgusting to pass up. So it all worked together well.
What are you doing here?
I have moved here to London and entered into a partnership with Madame Rosenquist.
You mean she's still alive? I mean, how's she doing?
Quite well. This is her shop you see before you.
No kidding.
Not at all. You should go upstairs. I'm sure she will love to see you again.
Have you got some time to talk?
Of course, Herr Jordan. What may I help you with?
So you said this is Madame Tilly's shop?
Indeed.
Does she get much business?
She does, yeah. There are an astounding number of people who desire psychic guidance.
You sound surprised by that.
Yeah, I suppose I am, in a way.
Does it maybe have to do with the fact that Madame Rosenquist is... how do I put this?
Less than reliable?
I was going to use the F word, but sure.
I would not consider her a fraud. While I don't believe her predictions are 100% accurate, I do think she has her moments of clarity. Our time at number 50 Berkeley Square proved that.
You sure seem a lot happier than the last time I saw you.
Yes, I am. Very much so. Perhaps it is a change of scenery, or my relationship with Madame Rosenquist, but I am much happier these days.
Relationship? You mean your business relationship?
Yeah, business and a bit more.
Oh. Oh, that's great. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. And what of you, Herr Jordan? Is all well with you? If you excuse my boldness, you seemed significantly less happy than the last time we met.
Yeah, well, things are kind of bad. Simon is dead, Alice is missing, and I'm not sure what to do next.
I see. My condolences. If I can assist you in any way, please let me know.
See you later, Otto.
Goodbye, Herr Jordan.
I remember you. Ben Jordan, was it?
That's right. We worked together a few months ago.
Yes, of course. How could I forget?
Senility probably has something to do with it.
Eh? What was that?
Oh, nothing.
Please have a seat over on that chair. So, what brings you to my humble parlor?
I haven't got anywhere else to turn. Things are bad, Madame Rosenquist. Really bad. I think you might be the only person left who can help me.
I see. Do not fret, my dear. I will do all I can to help you. I can sense that you have suffered tremendously within the past few days. Please, tell me more so that I may do my best to assist you.
I don't really have time to get into details. But basically, Simon is dead and Alice is missing. I need to find and stop this insane cardinal from the Vatican, and I don't have much time to do it. Is there anything you can do to help?
Yes, I believe there is. Gaze into the crystal ball, Mr. Jordan. I will commune with the spirit world and deliver their messages to you via the orb of truth.
Seriously?
Extremely. Now look into the ball. I call upon those who have passed. O spirits, come forth from the light and give us guidance.
Is something supposed to be happening?
Shh. Yes, yes. Upon you now I call. Rise from your eternal rest. Simon Booth, come forth from death. Give us guidance.
Wait, what?
Simon, your friend is calling you for help. Come forth and show us the way.
Okay, this has gone far enough.
I beg your pardon?
I really don't know what I expected coming here, but I know it wasn't to have some crazy old woman play Dial-A-Spirit. Simon was my friend. I won't sit here and have you make fun of him like this.
You misunderstand, Mr. Jordan. The last thing I would ever do is...
Oh, I understand all right. I'll see you around, Madame Rosenquist. Thanks for your time. Simon? Is that you?
I would say in the flesh, but I don't seem to have too much of that left now, do I?
Another thing that I was really debating and on the fence about for a really long time was whether or not to bring Simon back. I didn't know whether I should just keep him dead and not hear from him ever again, or if I should do the sort of cliche bring him back, and because it is a game about the paranormal, so you would expect to kind of see Simon again. At first I toyed with the idea of having him be a lot more apparent and kind of do the whole American Werewolf in London thing where he kind of pops up as Ben's spiritual guide and kind of gives him advice as he's playing and kind of be in a state of more and more decomposition as you see him. But then I thought that would be kind of tasteless and it would be stupid and whatever. So I figured just having him show up to give Ben a vital piece of information, which logically he would have, was probably the best way to do it. Plus, it gave the whole Simon's death thing a nice bit of closure. I mean, you know, Ben gets to say goodbye to Simon, which is nice, because, you know, we don't always get the opportunity to do that. And so I figured might as well give Ben the break and let him say goodbye to his friend.
It's good to see you again.
Not sure if I can say the same, Ben.
Look, I'm sorry about what happened. I didn't know.
Sorry. Sorry isn't going to make me alive again, is it? But this is no time for venting frustrations. As soon as you disturb my sweet hereafter to ask me some questions, so go ahead.
Do you have any idea where Alice is?
Are you saying that I should know?
Well, I always thought people acquired omniscient knowledge after they died.
If that were true, there'd be a lot more enthusiasm about dying, don't you think?
I never thought of it that way.
Anyway, no, I don't know where she is.
I really hope she's okay. Do you know where Cardinal Genovese is?
As a matter of fact, I do. Or think I do at any rate.
Really? Great. Where?
Shortly after the incident, I was lying there on the floor. Before I shuffled off the mortal coil, I heard Genovese talking. He said that since you so thoughtlessly destroyed the exorcism amulet, he was now required to go in search of the final relic, which according to him is located in Paris.
Paris, huh? Did he say where specifically?
Afraid not, mate. That's about the time I snuffed it.
At least I know where to start looking now. So, what's it like? Being dead, I mean.
There's a lot more paperwork involved than one would expect.
Really?
No, of course not.
So tell me what it's really like then.
What? Spoil all the mystery? We're going to find out eventually. Why ruin it now?
I don't have any more questions.
Listen, Dan, I'm sorry I was a bit rude earlier. You have to understand my point of view in all this. Being killed doesn't exactly make one jump for joy.
Yeah, I understand. This hasn't been easy for any of us. But mark my words, I'm going to make sure Genovese gets what he deserves.
How do I then? I have absolute confidence that you'll do exactly that.
So, I guess this is goodbye then.
Looks that way.
I'm really sorry things turned out the way they did.
Welcome to the territory, mate. I wouldn't trade the adventures we had for anything.
Me either.
Okay, it's time for me to go. Now, don't expect some sentimental nonsense about how I'll always be with you or anything like that. Just because I'm dead doesn't mean there's any reason to get all emotional. But I will say this. Good luck.
Thanks. I'm going to need it.
So long, Ben.
Bye, Simon. You were a great friend.
I don't know. But don't worry, we'll see each other again soon. Or will we?
I'm gonna miss that.
That was beautiful. It's always so tragic to see young lovers separated by death.
Young lovers?
There's no shame in it, Mr. Jordan. I may be old, but I'm not close-minded.
Right. Goodbye, Madam Rosenquist.
So, how did it go?
Better than I had hoped. I'm off to Paris.
I think not, Jordan. Your travels end here.
Not another one of you guys.
Do you know this man?
He's a member of the Knights of St. Anthony. They're a bunch of whack jobs who are trying to kill me.
Now, there's no need for name-calling.
Look, I already know the drill. I'm not coming along with you no matter how much you threaten me.
Not to worry, I won't waste your time. I've been sent to kill you, Jordan, not capture you. I'm afraid I cannot allow that.
Whoa! Pretty impressive moves there, Otto.
The compliment is appreciated, Herr Jordan, but we don't have much time. Go around the corner of this building. I have a car park there. I can take you where you need to go, but we must move quickly. I will meet you in a few minutes.
Okay, I'm going.
It seems we are being followed.
What a surprise. Don't these guys ever give up?
I will try to lose it. However, anything you can do to help would be most appreciated. Nice job, Herr Jordan.
That was a little too close for my liking.
Here we are, Herr Jordan. Waterloo Station.
Thanks, Otto. I appreciate all your help.
Think nothing of it. Good luck finding whatever it is you seek. And be careful.
I'll try my best.
Farewell then, Herr Jordan.
So you finally decided to show up, huh? You know, for someone charged with protecting me, you sure aren't around very much.
True, but you have proven yourself capable of handling yourself several times. It would be an insult to hold your hand the whole way through just to make things easier.
Yeah, well... Okay, fine. Sorry.
Not to worry. I assume you have a lead as to the Cardinal's whereabouts.
Yeah, Paris.
Excellent. We must board the next train there.
I don't actually know where in Paris, though.
It seems, then, that we will have to concern ourselves with that bridge when we arrive in the city. After you, Mr. Jordan. Right then, I'll see you on board the train.
Why is he always so skittish about being in public?
Everything alright, Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, I guess. I'm feeling a little better now that we're making some progress, but I have a feeling we've still got a long way to go. Well, there goes the scenery.
Indeed. This is always the most boring part of the trip.
So, now that we've got some time, how about finishing that story about you and Grandpa Arthur?
Ah, of course. Now then, where did I leave off?
You'd just been attacked by the headless vampire in the cemetery.
Ah, yes. Arthur and I decided our best bet was to consult the town record keeper about the mysterious Sorin Trellis.
Another thing that I had a little bit of trouble deciding on with regards to Grandpa Arthur and him being the bee story was how it was that he was going to be presented. At first, my initial idea was to have him kind of communicate to Ben through dreams. Ben was going to fall asleep several times throughout the game, and every time he was going to dream about this adventure that Arthur and Percy had in Romania. And actually, the game was originally going to open up with Arthur at the Coach and Horses and walking in and kind of meeting Percy there, but I felt that it kind of wasn't as important to show that at the beginning of the game as it was to sort of show Ben's situation and where he was and the fact that, you know, he's in the car with Percy. So I scrapped the idea of the dreams, and I figured it would just be better to have Percy tell the story and have the flashback occur through Percy's story of what was going on.
So this is the place, according to the record keeper. Sorin Trellis's house.
Do you suppose anyone is home?
Only one way to find out.
Arthur, what are you doing?
Smashing the window with this brick so I can get inside.
Is that really a good idea? I don't think we should draw any unwanted attention to ourselves.
If it brings us a step closer to finding out why we almost got bumped off at the cemetery, it's a risk I'm willing to take. Alright, I'm going in.
Are you sure you'll be able to fit through there? Because I certainly won't.
You're right. Well, it's probably better if you stay out here and keep watch. I'll just give you a shout if I need anything.
Do be careful, Arthur.
Jeepers creepers! I had a feeling this Trellis fellow was up to something, but I didn't think it was this severe. That should take care of this town's vampire problem. Oh, hello there.
Who are you? What are you doing in here?
The name's Arthur Jordan, and... I thought this was the men's room.
You are quite mistaken then, and also not a very good liar. Why are you really here?
I'm looking for Soren Trellis.
In that case, you need not look any further. The people in this town know me as Soren Trellis, but you may address me by my proper name. Zorthrus.
You're pale as a ghost. What are you?
Kind of you to ask. I am a Strigoi.
What?
I believe you would refer to it as a vampire warlock.
You say you're a vampire warlock? What does that even mean?
It's very simple. I bite people and drain them of their blood, and I have magical powers.
Baloney.
I can assure you, I am quite serious.
How is it that you speak English so well?
That is a long story.
Then give me the short version.
Very well. I spent several years living in your country in a state called Pennsylvania. If a Strigoi lives 10 years in a country where another language is spoken, he can become human again. All that is required is a virgin sacrifice. I had gathered a loyal group of followers and was about to complete the sacrificial ritual, but one of my most trusted members revealed himself to be a traitor and ruined everything. I barely managed to escape and came back here to my homeland to wait for another opportunity.
You've got something to do with all this headless vampire hooey, don't you?
That is correct. It was I who turned young Miss Corsa into what she is today.
You heartless chump. How could you do that to the poor girl?
How could I do that to her? I was not the one who sealed her in that barrel, leaving her to die. She kicked her head off trying to escape, which would have killed her if I had not intervened. Now she enjoys the gift of eternal life.
Floating around as a head attached to a bunch of body parts. Yeah, I'm sure she thanks you every day for that. Okay, enough beating gums. You need to answer for your crimes.
I don't think you quite comprehend the situation. You are trespassing in my house, hidden away in my secret room, alone. And I have not had a taste of fresh blood for a very long time. Roxandra has been a loyal servant for years, but I think it's time for a new follower.
Don't try anything funny now.
Oh, not to worry. This is quite serious.
Ouch! Hey!
Hold still, you wretch!
Sorry, Zorthrus. You won't be getting any of my blood today.
Perhaps not, but you can be sure I will not rest until I do. Mark my words, Arthur Jordan. I will have your blood, even if it takes generations.
Arthur came back out of the house and told me what had happened. We informed the townspeople of the situation and went on our way the next morning.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's why I was picked to be the sacrifice back in Smell Home?
Exactly.
There's still a few questions I have about all this.
Of course. I think now is a suitable time to answer them.
But I have to take a quick bathroom break first.
Very well. I'll be here when you return.
Good evening, Mr. Jordan.
Oh man, why can't you jerks just leave me alone already?
I'm afraid that isn't possible until you are taken care of. Now, I want to avoid making a scene out here in the hallway. Let's go back to your compartment and settle this there. I'm giving you fair warning, however. Don't try anything, or I will shoot you right here.
Fine, follow me.
Ah, I didn't realize you were accompanied on this train.
Your problem always was a lack of observation, Jennings. Quite frankly, I'm surprised they would have sent you at this phase.
Jones? You are alive? How is this possible? I thought...
Yes, as I recall, it was you who was given the honour of executing me. It would seem, however, that you did not do as thorough a job as you thought.
But that was in 1956. Even if you had survived, you'd be over 100 years old by now.
Ah, perhaps I was wrong in my initial assessment. You are showing a surprising amount of observational skill. However, I'm afraid that the answer to that is not for you to know. My immediate concern is your threatening of young Mr. Jordan, and as such...
Whoa!
Help me get him out of here, would you? Genovese must be getting desperate. This means we haven't much time.
Okay, I think it's finally time for you to tell me what's going on.
Yes, you're quite right.
Before, when I asked you about the Knights, you said your involvement with them ended? How did it end exactly?
I went out with a bang, you might say. One thing they neglected to mention when I joined was that it was a lifetime membership. As such, after Genovese became obsessed with gathering the relics, and I decided to abandon the cause, Jennings, the gentleman who was here earlier, was charged with executing me. The Knights of St. Anthony do not deal well with deserters.
That Knight guy made a good point. How are you still alive? When Grandpa Arthur died, he was 90, and that was 13 years ago. You don't look any older than your mid-50s.
That's because when I was shot and killed by the Knights, I was 55.
Hold on. You were killed?
Indeed. Shot in the head at close range. It was quite unpleasant.
I don't understand. Does that mean you're a ghost or something?
I don't think that is the proper classification, as you aren't the only one who can see me. But it is something similar. I suppose the best explanation would be something akin to a guardian angel, charged with your protection.
This is a lot to take in. You mentioned something about this before, but... who exactly charged you with my protection?
I'll try and make it as concise as possible, as it is a bit much to understand. When your grandfather saved me from the headless vampire, I was in his debt for my life. Despite our later falling out over my support for the Knights of St. Anthony, we still maintained that bond. When I was shot, I recall experiencing my death, but something brought me back. I didn't speak with anyone or anything directly, but somehow I knew that before I could rest, I had a duty to perform. That duty was to protect Arthur Jordan's grandson against the perverted ideas and actions of Cardinal Genovese. And so, that is what I have been doing since I tracked you down several months ago.
Sorry if I sound rude, but what exactly have you been doing to help me?
More than you realized. I was granted the advantage of some otherworldly influence upon my return to this world.
What does that mean?
Simply that I can manipulate the will of others to your benefit if the need arises. For instance, did you ever wonder why it was so easy for a foreigner to have such hands-on access at the police station in Osaka? Or why it just so happened that the only available taxi in Greece refused to go to Athens? Or who it was that recommended your services to Mr. Renzi?
Well...
I've been working behind the curtain to ensure your success leading up to the final confrontation with Genovese. Unfortunately, I won't be able to help you with that, but I feel you're sufficiently prepared at present.
Wait a second, if you wanted to help me, why were you such a jerk when we first met?
Ah, yes. That was my form of tough love, so to speak. The situation in Smelholm was extremely dangerous, and I needed to make sure you could perform well when faced with adversity. Luckily, you proved quite capable.
Well, thanks for your help then, even though I didn't realize you were helping.
Anytime. Ah, it seems we will soon be arriving at our destination.
But how will we know where to go?
I've reserved you a room at a local hostel, the Hotel Commune. It's close to the train station, so you should have no trouble finding it.
What about you?
Unfortunately, I won't be able to accompany you. However, I will be in contact with you and watching out for you from afar.
Okay, so I'll go over to the hostel once we stop.
Good luck, Mr. Jordan. Oh, and do be careful. Although I doubt Cardinal Genovese has learned of your journey, it surely won't be long before he does.
Don't worry, I'll keep an eye out for any of his goons.
Bonjour. Welcome to the Hotel Commune. How long will you be staying with us?
I'm not really sure. I think my friend booked a room for me.
Oui, I can check. What is your name?
Ben Jordan.
Ah oui, your room is at the end of the hallway. Enjoy your stay with us, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thanks, but I think the questions will have to wait for tomorrow. This has been the longest day ever. I'm going to bed.
Très bien. Good night, Monsieur Jordan.
So this dream, I'm still not quite sure how I feel about this dream. I like that I put it in, but if you haven't gathered by now, there's a bit of backstory for the Cardinal that I wanted to put in the game, and I didn't want to be overly blatant about it, but I also didn't want to be too subtle about it, so I tried to maybe reach a happy medium. I don't know if I got there or not. But the first sort of indication you get of the Cardinal's history is when you look him up at the British Library and you read about how his sister, his family was affected, etc., by the war. Then you see this with this little girl in the Italian village getting bombed, which she didn't really get bombed. That's just Ben's dream. And then at the end, when you're talking to the Cardinal, he mentions about how his sister committed suicide. So basically, the backstory with the Cardinal is that he went away to seminary school or in London when he was a young man in the 40s or the late 30s. And while he was away, World War II was happening, and his sister back in Italy saw the bombing of a village, and she was traumatized by it, and she committed suicide. And when he came back, he found that his sister had committed suicide. So he became disillusioned with World War II, and he realized that, the whole thing about the children seeing war, and the whole thing with the religion, and the war being caused by religion. So that's kind of what drove him to get the relics and want to be kind of the unifier of all the world's religion. That's kind of his motivation. So there was, how to express that was kind of a challenge. But I knew I wanted to have some sort of dream sequence where Ben sees his sister, and so I kind of was struggling as to where to put it. I didn't know if I wanted to put it right at the beginning of the game. I thought maybe that would confuse people, and really the more important issue to deal with was the whole Percy issue at the beginning of the game. So I figured putting it in pretty much the only time that Ben goes to sleep in this whole game was the best place to do it. And I had to add the message about the dream kind of confusing him later on, because I realized that it was kind of jarring to go just from the dream to, okay, let's go back to looking around without any real explanation.
Listen, Luca. What's that noise? worry. That was on the other side of the mountain. We'll be safe here. Bonjour, monsieur. How can I help you?
Could I ask you a few questions?
But of course.
So what's it like running a hostel?
Hotel, monsieur. This is a hotel. There are no hostels in Paris.
Not to be rude, but this really does look like a hostel to me.
Yes, but we must pay a tax, and this tax allows us to be called a hotel. All hotels in Paris must pay this tax.
That seems kind of unfair.
Oui, perhaps, but I am happy enough still being in business.
This little bit about the hotel tax is a little in-joke from Mittens 2010. In Milan, we stayed at a hostel and basically verbatim got this explanation from the hostel owner about how it was a hotel and how in Milan there's no hostels in Milan and how they all have to pay a tax and blah blah blah. And it was just too quirky and weird to forget about, so I threw it in and transplanted it to Paris.
What can you tell me about Paris?
I have lived here all my life. I can suggest several places for you to visit if you wish.
That's okay. I'm not really here to sightsee.
Well, if you change your mind, you let me know.
What can you tell me about yourself?
What is it you would like to know?
I don't know. What do you do besides run this place?
Well, when I'm not running the hotel, I go to church.
Really? I never would have guessed. You seem to take your religion very seriously.
Oui, my parents raised me to be a good Catholic. I love Paris because we have so many beautiful churches, all with rich histories. I have studied them all and know much about them.
Would you happen to know anything about relics?
Relics?
Yeah, you know, holy objects.
Oui, I know of them.
Are there any major ones around here you can think of?
There are several in France, but in Paris? Ah oui, they say that there is one in Sacré-Cœur.
The church in Montmartre?
Oui, it is named for the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Some say that the relic is found in the church somewhere. This is how it got its name.
Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for your help.
My pleasure.
May I ask you a few questions?
Naturally.
What can you tell me about Sacré-Cœur?
That is a broad question, monsieur. I can certainly tell you about the history of the church if this is what you wish to know.
Well, actually, what interests me is if the church houses any relics.
Relic? Oui, there is one relic in the crypt downstairs. Some say it is the very Sacred Heart of Jesus, for which this basilica was named.
Tell me more about the Sacred Heart relic.
It is simply the heart of Jesus, representative of his divine love.
And it's here in the church?
As I said, there are those who believe the relic in the crypt is part of the Sacred Heart. However, there are others who believe that the relic is false and that the real Sacred Heart is hidden deeper in the crypt.
Interesting to know. Has anyone been in here today or in the past few days wearing a dark suit?
Not that I can recall.
It's possible they may have been interested in a detailed search of the basilica.
We have many visitors to the church, young man. However, I cannot remember anyone specifically asking to search the premises.
Have you seen an older guy in here? A cardinal?
A cardinal? In this church? No, monsieur. I have not seen a cardinal here for some time.
Thanks for your help.
You are welcome.
Okay, so I've got the final relic. Now I just need to figure out what to do with it.
What is going on down here?
I found the Sacred Heart, Father.
You are sure it's the relic?
Pretty sure. I mean, it was pretty well hidden.
May I see it?
Sure. Actually, I think maybe you should hold on to it. But just to warn you, I have reason to believe someone might try and take it tonight.
Do not worry, my child. I will make sure the sacred relic remains where it belongs. Now, if you would please excuse me.
Of course. Do what you have to do to keep it safe.
Monsieur, what are you doing in here?
I was just down visiting the crypt.
Impossible! The church is closed to the public today.
Closed? But I walked in here with no problem earlier. The other priest will tell you.
What other priest? I am the only priest here today.
The other one who was here. I gave him... God damn it.
Monsieur, have some respect. You are in the house of the Lord.
I can't believe I fell for that.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. I'm an idiot. I'll be leaving now.
This scene was fun for two reasons. One, it allowed me to do the classic dumb character move, because Ben's got his stuff together for most of the game, but he has this one lapse of judgment at this point when he gives away the final relic. And it also gave me the opportunity, as horrible as it is, to have Ben swear and take God's name in vain in a church in front of a priest, which I thought was too amusing an opportunity to pass up.
Bonjour, monsieur. How can I help you?
Could I ask you a few questions?
But of course.
Someone left a note on my door. Did you see who?
No, monsieur, I did not. I have not been in the hallway today.
Thanks for your help.
My pleasure.
Could I ask you a few questions?
I suppose so.
What are you doing out here in front of the cemetery gates?
My job.
Oh, are you a watchman or something?
No. I sell the maps of the cemetery to tourists.
Oh, I see. How much is it for one of your maps?
It is 20 euros.
What? For a map of the cemetery?
This is no ordinary map, monsieur. It is printed on cloth and has been signed by all of the dead people in the cemetery.
That's, handy information to know. What can you tell me about Paranormal?
It is full of the dead people. It is also one of Paris' most popular tourist destinations. Although, if you ask me, I do not see why you would want to go to the cemetery on your holiday. We are going to end up there eventually. Why bother wasting time in one while you're alive? Still, the public interest keeps me employed, so I should not complain.
Could you tell me more about the cemetery?
I could, but then I wouldn't make any money. And I'm not in the habit of giving out free information I can charge for. If you're interested in getting around in the cemetery, you can buy a map from me just like everyone else.
What do you know about Paris?
It gets very cold this time of year. Business tends to slow down, because nobody wants to visit when it's freezing outside. I much prefer the spring and summer.
Anything you can tell me that's not related to your sales?
Not really. I don't get out much.
Thanks for your help.
You're quite welcome.
I'd like to buy a map, please.
You have made a wise choice, monsieur. 20 euros, please.
There you go.
Thank you for your business. Enjoy the cemetery.
Who are you?
So you've just experienced, or just have the opportunity here, to make your first ending-affecting choice, which is whether you go into the crypt and discover that it's actually Alice, or whether you leave and never see Alice again. Early on, I decided that I wanted to have different endings for the game. The scope of the difference of the endings ended up being a bit different, because I originally thought, well, I want to have an ending that's affected completely by something you do at the very beginning of the game that seems insignificant, and then it'll just completely have a completely different ending for that. But that would have been too much to plan and too much to program. So really, the difference in the endings is really just a bit of dialogue and what happens to everyone at the end, or what happens to some of the characters at the end. But this is one of the points where it splits, and I have a feeling that most people are going to find Alice, because first of all, there's a huge clue in the fact that it auto-saves, and second of all, you know, why wouldn't you go into the crypt? So I don't know if it was the best way of doing it, but at least the fact, I think it makes it fairly obvious that that's the choice point, so it'll let people kind of, if they want to see the different endings and determine which one they like best, it'll at least give them a point of reference to know when they can make that first decision.
Okay, this is far enough. I don't know who you are, but I'm not getting any closer until you show yourself.
Relax, Ben, it's just me.
Alice? Oh my god, you're alive? I thought they had...
No, they didn't. I'm okay. I'm glad to see you are too.
How exactly were you able to find me? I thought I'd never see you again.
It wasn't easy, but luckily I had help. When you and Simon were taken, I was able to escape without anyone seeing me. I managed to follow you to St. Peter's Basilica and was trying to find a way in. Luckily, your friend, Professor Jones, showed up. He told me he was going to take you out of the basilica, so I went in with him. When we found Simon's body, he told me I should go into hiding. It took some convincing on his part, but I finally agreed, as long as he would keep me updated on where you were. I asked him to tell you he hadn't seen or heard from me, in case you asked.
What? But why?
I didn't want you to distract yourself from stopping the Cardinal by trying to go out of your way to find me. I knew when things blew over that I could contact you and we'd get back together.
Wow. I'm just glad I didn't freak out with your cloak and get out of the cemetery.
Yeah, me too.
So there was the dialogue option in the conversation with Alice, which ultimately got cut because when I finally heard it voiced, I realized how stupid it was. But there's a bit where Ben asks Alice about herself, and she's like, "Oh, I'm taking good care of myself, extra good care of myself." And Ben's like, "What, are you pregnant?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And Ben says that, you know, because they spent the night together, he's worried, and she says, "Of course not, I'm not pregnant, that's stupid." So it was kind of a riff on the whole, how in fiction, whenever two characters spend the night together, no matter what, the woman always ends up pregnant. And also there was a gag at the end where she says, "That only happened 2 nights ago anyway." And he's like, "Oh, I thought that it felt more like 4 years." Sort of a little self-deprecating jab at myself for how long it's taken to put this game out. But considering the rest of the conversation, it did not fit the tone at all. And like I said, when I heard it voiced, it just sounded dumb. So I cut it. I don't think we lost anything by doing that.
Have you got any sort of plan with how to deal with Cardinal Genovese? Because, to be honest, I'm clueless.
Actually, I do. I was able to find out where he's going to perform his ritual or ceremony or whatever it is.
That's fantastic. Where?
It's going to be tonight at the top of the bell tower in Notre Dame Cathedral.
Oh, well, I guess I'm not surprised. It's not like he was going to do it in this hotel room.
What are you talking about?
Do you know how difficult it's going to be getting up there?
I know it's not going to be easy. But we've gotten this far. I know you can do it.
Well, I'd love to hear any suggestions you might have regarding how.
My plan was to sneak into the church as a tourist, since most of the knights won't recognize me. But I don't think you'll be able to do that. Maybe you should ask Professor Jones? He might know of some other way to get in.
Yeah, he probably does. I just need to find him. You mentioned you found Simon's body?
Yep. I can't believe he's gone.
They killed him right in front of me.
Oh, Ben, I'm so sorry.
I feel really guilty about having left his body there, but there was nothing I could do.
Oh, you don't have to feel guilty, Ben. I called the police and Simon's parents and arranged for his body to be taken back to England.
That was very considerate of you.
It's the least I could do for our friend.
Okay, so I'll try and figure out a way into Notre Dame, and then meet you inside?
Yeah, say around 11 tonight.
Cutting it kinda close, aren't we?
The toughest part will be getting in, so I'm allotting most of the time for that.
Okay, I'll head back and see if I can locate Percy. I'll see you tonight.
Hey, before you go. Good luck.
Good day, Mr. Jordan. I trust all is going well?
Not really. I was able to find the final relic, but then I lost it. Or, more accurately, one of the Knights of St. Anthony tricked me into giving it to him.
That is unfortunate, but the knights can be rather cunning.
But on the bright side, I found Alice.
Ah, so she decided to make contact. Excellent.
Yeah, and she told me the Cardinal was having his ritual tonight at Notre Dame.
Yes, I was able to verify that as well.
I was hoping you might have some ideas on how to get in there.
I may. The path to Notre Dame will no doubt be heavily guarded tonight by the Knights of St. Anthony. A direct approach from street level would be most unwise. However, Paris has a massive system of sewers and catacombs beneath its streets. You may be able to use them to make your way to Notre Dame.
That's an idea, but how will I avoid getting lost down there?
The catacombs have been marked with signs and maps by urban explorers. You just need to find your way to Notre Dame.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Good luck, Mr. Jordan. I will see you tonight.
Could I have a minute?
Oui?
What can you tell me about the catacombs?
That all depends on who is asking. What is your business exactly?
I'm a paranormal investigator.
And you want to search the catacombs for ghosts? No, monsieur. There may be thousands of bones down there, but there are no ghosts.
Could I have a minute?
Oui?
What are you doing out here?
The last time I checked, it was not a crime to enjoy a cigarette outside. Now please, unless you have something useful to ask, leave me alone.
So, Paris must be nice to live in, huh?
Oui, it has its moments. Too many tourists around for my taste, though.
What can you tell me about the catacombs?
That all depends on who is asking. What is your business exactly?
I'm an archaeologist.
Then where is your whip and fedora?
You know that's just a movie, right?
Ah, you have shattered my dreams, monsieur. And anyway, I don't believe you.
Could I have a minute?
Oui?
What can you tell me about the catacombs?
That all depends on who is asking. What is your business exactly?
I'm just a tourist.
Then I am afraid you are out of luck. You see there on the sign, the catacombs are closed to the public until January 3rd.
Could I have a minute?
Oui?
What can you tell me about the catacombs?
That all depends on who is asking. What is your business exactly?
I'm an urban explorer.
Ah, a fellow seeker. Very good. What would you like to know?
So how can I get down into the catacombs?
There are many entrances throughout Perry. I can tell you where to look, as well as give you a few tools you'll need to get around, for a small fee.
How much are we talking?
Not too much. €50?
I'll think about it. What are you doing out here?
I am keeping a lookout for any of my fellow explorers. If they need assistance, I will give it to them. But then, you found me, so you already knew that, didn't you?
Oh, of course. See you later.
Au revoir.
Okay, here you go. I want to go into the catacombs.
Merci. Now you can find the catacombs by going down into the sewers. Take this. It will help you with any manhole covers you may find. And also, it can get dark down there. So have this. Oh, and watch out for the cataflix.
What are those, giant rats?
No, monsieur. They are special police who patrol the catacombs, looking for people who are there illegally. I suggest avoiding them if you can.
Thanks for the tip.
No problem. Good luck down there. Oh, and if anyone asks, we never had this conversation.
The Catacombs, another actual location. If you've ever been to Paris, and you've ever been to the Catacombs, you know what it's like. If you haven't been, I recommend you go. It's one of the more interesting sites in Paris. Just miles and miles of underground tunnels, and darkness, and skeletons, and skulls, and stuff. And it's very macabre and creepy, but it makes a good location for a game. It also gave me a chance to perfect my one-room maze skills. The maze, I'm not a big fan of mazes in adventure games unless they have a point to them, and the idea of getting to Notre Dame so easily was not something that I wanted in there, so I wanted to have a little bit of a challenge. And since Ben's going underground, logically it would make sense that he'd have to navigate his way, so I put in a maze. The other mazes maze that I've had in the Ben Jordan games was the Skunk Ape, the Everglades maze in Case 1, and that one was solved by you could solve it with the nasal spray. This one you solve by reading the map directions. So I didn't want the player to just be wandering around aimlessly and figuring it out by trial and error. So it's an easy maze, and it may kind of be a little bit of padding, but I think it fits because Ben wouldn't just walk up to Notre Dame like Percy said, because it's obviously heavily guarded, so he has to get there some alternate way. Arrête! You are not allowed down here. Come with me. Eh?
Well, well. Ben Jordan. About time you showed up.
You're Max, aren't you? I remember you. You shot me and took me to the Vatican. Then you killed my friend.
When someone interferes with progress, that interference must be dealt with. You agree, don't you, Ben?
I just feel I've been watching a bad dream I can never wake up from.
I can wake you up right now.
What's your rush, Max? After all, this has been a long time coming.
Are you pleading for your life?
Hardly. Begging doesn't work with you guys, remember?
Your friend got too close to disrupting the great task. That's why he had to die, Ben. And that's why you have to die.
Now this, when I was first designing Case 8, or when I was in the initial phases and I was putting in placeholder music, the music I used for Ben walking up to the church and talking to Max and everything was Rain from Cowboy Bebop. And that inspired me to lift the dialogue from that scene that everybody knows from Cowboy Bebop, even if you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, which I actually haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, but I've seen that scene. And so I took the dialogue from it, pretty much word for word, just changed a couple of things appropriate to the situation. And just recently, I got the actual track for that scene, and I heard the scene voiced, and I thought, well, that doesn't really fit as well. So I had to cut a couple of the lines just to make it a little bit less obliviously or obviously Cowboy Bebop. But heavy influence there from Cowboy Bebop.
Look at you. Do you have any idea how pathetic you look right now?
There's no need for violence.
I beg to differ. You need to be dealt with. Cardinal's orders.
Haven't you ever stopped to realize that Genovese isn't right in the head?
What do you mean?
Think about it. What normal person goes around the world causing death and destruction just to find relics? Seems to me like he's put you all on a wild goose chase.
I admit, I've had my doubts about the great task lately, but if I were to take your opinion into consideration, what do you suggest I do?
Leave this all behind. Just walk away. I'm sure you've got better things to do with your life than attend to the whims of a crazy old man.
You know, you're right. I've served Genovese far too many years, and I've seen no results. Why waste time any longer on this nonsense? I'm leaving now. Good luck stopping Genovese. Oh, and don't even think about following me.
Ben! Over here! What took you so long? It's almost midnight.
A few unexpected complications, but everything's okay now.
You're bleeding. Are you alright?
Yeah, like I said, I'm fine. Where's Genovese?
He's up the bell tower, the one closed off to the public. The stairs are over there.
Well, at least I'm getting in my cardio for the day.
Come on, I'll help you up.
No, you stay here.
What? I'm not gonna let you go up there alone like that.
It's okay. I've dealt with most of the Knights of St. Anthony. An old man in a dress shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, but I'm coming up if I hear anything.
Deal. Now where'd you say the stairs were again?
Right over there. We don't have time to talk right now, Ben. You need to get upstairs and stop the Cardinal.
We have no time to waste with conversation now, Mr. Jordan.
You're a difficult man to find, Cardinal.
And you are a difficult man to kill, Mr. Jordan. Normally, I would be angered that you breached my sanctuary, but you've arrived so close to midnight it hardly matters. In fact, it rather pleases me that you will be here to witness the dawn of a new era, one I have worked so hard to bring about.
Why are you doing this?
I beg your pardon?
You heard me. Why are you doing this?
I would have thought it was rather obvious. Think about the world's greatest conflicts, the Crusades, the Second World War, the unrest in the Middle East. What do all these have in common? At their core, the cause was religious difference. Now, what if this conflict could be prevented? What if I could unite mankind under one faith, so that there would at last be tolerance and peace?
You really think you can do that by taking all these relics?
By collecting these artifacts and combining them here, tonight, at the stroke of midnight, I will succeed in uniting humanity and ushering in a new world order, one of peace and tolerance. Tell me, Mr. Jordan, is that really such an evil wish? Does that make me the villain?
Well...
And you, who are here to stop me, to put an end to my plans, what does that make you, I wonder?
This new era of yours, was it worth killing so many people for?
I don't believe I follow you.
Simon Booth, Percival Quentin Jones, Alessandro Renzi, Thomas Ryan. Do you want me to keep going?
Those are but a few unfortunate casualties.
Yeah? Then what about the villagers in Greece, or the businessmen in Japan, or the rangers in the Everglades? You've got a lot of blood in your hands, Genovese. So, is your little fantasy really worth it?
I admit my plan can be considered by some to be radical, and society does not adapt well to radical ideas. However, I assure you that my intentions are noble. If a few people must die so that the world may live in peace, then so be it.
I wonder if you'd have that same attitude if it was your friend that had been murdered.
And I wonder if you would have the same attitude if it had been your younger sister who had committed suicide! Above all else, I am doing this for her, so that innocent children will no longer be forced into adulthood after witnessing the atrocities of war! So that families and lives will no longer be torn apart because they are the so-called wrong religion! So that humanity can finally be at peace with itself! For this goal, I very much do believe that the ends justify the means.
What do you expect to accomplish from all this?
At the stroke of midnight, the energy of these relics will surge and transfer itself into me. I shall then emerge as a being with absolute power over all religions.
A god?
In a manner of speaking. I shall be the Earth's representative of all deities, the symbol of unity among all belief systems. No longer will people fight or argue over which religion is best. They will have only one choice.
And what about those people who don't want to follow you?
I can hardly imagine anyone who would not. But If I am met with resistance, then those people must be eliminated.
So you're saying you're perfectly willing to commit genocide if you're not universally accepted? How does that make you any different than all the religious conflicts you're trying to prevent?
The difference is nobody will oppose me. Why would they? I offer nothing but positive benefits.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Now, enough talk. Time is short. It's almost midnight.
I'm not gonna let you do this, Genovese.
What are you going to do? Kill me? Push me out the window, perhaps? You haven't got it in you.
You don't know that. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Hell, even I don't know what I'm capable of anymore.
Your empty threats mean nothing to me. Just accept that you cannot stop me, and embrace the forthcoming change.
I may not be able to stop you right now, but you can bet that I won't just sit and watch you take over. I'll fight you as long as I can. I'll do all I can to save the world from you.
Save the world? From me? When will you finally understand, Mr. Jordan? It was never your destiny to save the world! It's mine.
Is something supposed to be happening?
I don't understand. I don't understand. I've gathered all the relics. It's the eve of the new year. Why has nothing happened? Oh, God. Antonia. I failed you. It had to work. How could I have been led astray? All those years. Wasted.
What are you talking about? Who led you astray? Where did you get this idea in the first place?
It was a dream I had as a young man. The heavens spoke to me and told me about the great task. How I was to collect the relics and gain their power. I spent years tracking them down. Years building a group of followers. Years believing this plan would work.
Unquestioning belief can be a dangerous thing, Cardinal. It's got me into more trouble than I care to admit, and look what it's made you do. You've caused the deaths of dozens of people, stolen priceless artifacts, and for what? What have you accomplished?
Enough! I don't want to hear anymore. I don't even want to live anymore! Go on. Do what you came here to do.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean. Kill me!
Are you serious?
Yes! Life is no longer worth living. Just put me out of my misery.
So this is it, the final choice, as well as the revelation that everything was just a big anticlimax. That was decided pretty early on, actually. About the time that I wrote out the whole story and I figured that, you know, the Cardinal was taking the relics and everything, I was thinking about how I was going to present the whole final thing, and I had this great image in my head of, like, the Cardinal standing there at the top of Notre Dame, and the screen shaking, and lightning coming and zapping him, and him delivering his, what I call the booyah line for the trailer of, "It was never your destiny to save the world, it's mine," and everything, and Ben going, "No!" and jumping. But then I thought, no, that's too Hollywood cliche. What if just nothing happens, and the Cardinal realizes that everything has just been a waste of time, and he just he goes from being this scary sort of villain type to just being a pathetic little frail old man in a dress. And I liked that a lot better. So you kind of have this whole, oh no, what's gonna happen? And then nothing happens. And Ben is just kind of at this point not surprised and fed up with it, and, you know, that's it. So then you get the choice whether to let him live or to kill him, and that affects your ending too. So that pretty much leaves it in the player's hands as to how to deal out justice. Do you let him die by his own hand or feet, as the case was, or do you let him? Do you kill him? So, the choice is yours.
Wait, where are you going?
Back downstairs. I'm done with all this.
Fine, turn your back on the pathetic old man. I just wanted to do what was right.
No! Damn.
Ben, what happened up there?
Nothing happened. It was all in his head. Genovese thought the relics would give him power, but they were just objects.
Oh dear. All that trouble he caused.
Anyway, he won't bother anybody anymore.
You killed him?
No, he killed himself. Jumped off the top of the tower.
Oh, Ben.
It's okay. I'm just glad this is all over. Let's get out of here before the cops show up and start asking questions.
Don't worry about the police, Mr. Jordan. I'll take care of dealing with them.
What's going to happen with you now that there's no more Knights of St. Anthony?
An excellent question. I'm not sure exactly what will happen next, but I'm going to try and make the most of whatever time I have left here.
Thanks, Professor Jones. Percy, for all your help.
It was my pleasure, Ben. You would have made your grandfather proud. Well, no sense in dawdling about here. You and Miss Wilkins should go celebrate. It is the new year, after all. Goodbye to the both of you. It's certainly been an eventful few months.
Shall we?
And so that is Case 8, and that's the series. So final thoughts. I played this the other day, and in an attempt to do a playthrough to figure out what talking points I should have for the commentary, and I actually sat through and played the whole thing from start to finish, and when the credits started rolling, it hit me for the first time that this was it, that it was done. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt a little twinge of emotion, because I've been making these games for 8 years now, and this is the first time that I've finished a Ben Jordan game that I don't have another one to look forward to start working on. Usually when I would finish, my usual process for the games when I realized that I wanted to make the 8 of them and I had the whole story figured out, was I would start the game. Halfway through I would think, man, I bit off more than I can chew, I'm never going to finish this. Somehow I would finally get to the point where I was almost finished, and I would think, okay, the next one is going to be cooler than this one. And I'd start thinking about the next one, and then I would finish the one I was working on, and I'd already started on the next one, and I would just jump right into it and keep going. But this one, I started working on it in 2008, and then I got a real job, a 9-to-5, which halted progress significantly. And for a very long time, I thought, man, I bit off way more than I could chew. I'm being very ambitious. I'm not going to be able to finish this. But then finally, somehow, I got to that point where it was almost done, and I finished it. And now there's no more Ben Jordan to look forward to. So that's the difference. But I'm happy. I'm happy that I was able to finish this game series. I'm happy that I was able to realize what I set out to do, and I'm as sad as it is to not revisit these characters anymore and kind of close off the story and finish everything up. I feel a sense of relief that I can move on to other things, and I will be moving on to other things and making other games, and yeah, so basically, yeah, that's it. Thank you, the player, for playing the game, and thank you for, if you've played the whole series and supported the series, thank you for that. It's been a fun ride. It's been interesting, and I've certainly learned a lot about making games throughout the series and writing and all sorts of facets of game design. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it met your expectations. Maybe exceeded your expectations. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grundislav Games. Look at that. Last time I released a Ben Jordan game, we didn't even have Twitter, I don't think. Well, last time when I released Case 7 anyway, because Case 2 Deluxe we had Twitter. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter, see what I'm up to, tell me whether you liked the game or hated the game or whatever. You can follow Ben Jordan on Facebook, which now that Ben Jordan's over, I think we're going to be making a separate Grundislav Games Facebook page. And yeah, so thanks for playing the Ben Jordan series. Thanks for playing Case 8. I look forward to making games in the future, and hopefully you'll be there playing them and listening along to any future commentaries that may be done. So thank you, and good night.